Welcome to Inside the Force. I'm Greg Grunberg, a.k.a. Snap Wexley.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with me as always, Casey Cooley.
Hello everybody.
Welcome to an action-packed episode once again. We've got a lot to discuss, not a lot of news, but just a lot of things that we've watched over this past few days to actually spark up a ton of conversation.
Yes.
Some stuff from the Star Wars show, Rebels, which aired tonight. That was just flat out fantastic. And some minor news on some books and comics that we'll go over. But a little light on the movie side, I think.
Oh, very much so. No, absolutely. There, there's some Rogue One stuff still coming out, like interviews, behind the scenes stuff, and that's what Star Wars show is mainly about. And we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, really very quiet, especially on the Han Solo front.
Yeah,
because they should be shooting that very soon, right?
I think it's March.
March.
I think March was the production date. Yeah.
So there's definitely some work being done there, and we're not getting anything. I mean, there were talks, a while back, like a week ago, I guess, about where they're shooting, just some possible locations that they seem to be shooting, and that kind of stuff. It seemed like another kind of like a beautiful location, like a Scarif or something like that. It was some like bright, happy place, not like a desert or ice planet or anything like that. So a lot of stuff is happening. We're just not hearing it.
Yeah, a little bit on that line. I was watching Return of the Jedi. I don't know, so last weekend maybe or something like that. And actually, yeah, because I texted you about Leia and all that stuff, and that's a whole Pablo Twitter conversation I'll bring up here in a minute. But in regards to that, watching Return of the Jedi, there's that scene when they're planning the attack, and Mon Mothma's there, right? And I just remember looking at her, and I was paying attention to her. I'm like, you know what? Side by side, they look similar, but I think in Rogue One, her hair is too light. Like, they make her seem like a straight up redhead. You know what I mean? Like she's straight, but in A New Hope, it's really dark. Or, I'm sorry, not A New Hope, but Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
it's really dark. It's almost brown. So like a side by side, it's actually looks pretty. I'm surprised. I'm wondering who somewhat missed that. I guess because I think if you darkened her hair more, in Rogue One, it's pretty spot on because I think the facial features are pretty close.
Yeah. Because that 4 years, she ages her hair out quite a bit.
I guess. She could dye it, I guess, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
might be a thing.
But anyway, I think I was just looking at her like, wow. Just a little off, but no, I was just thinking because of Han Solo, obviously we're going to, right when we see him for the first time, we're going to be like, does it really look like Harrison Ford? Or is it, it's like, It
was fun. I was watching the Golden Globes a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And Alden Ehrenreich, I think he was there.
He presented, I think.
He presented, and there were several Star Wars actors there, but I think he looks like him. The curly hair, he's very curly.
He did look, I gotta admit, he did look a lot like him in the face. And you put the right hair on him, and it's probably going to look pretty good.
Giving that scar on the chin.
Yeah, I think it looks going to look pretty good.
They've got to do that scar.
I got to believe, we got to believe that they went through actual makeup tests.
Yeah.
Before they casted him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm definitely having more faith in the story group and the producers and just the Lucasfilm still and Disney that they're going to keep it as consistent as possible. Rogue One was a great testimony to that fact where, with Tarkin, the actor who they got to play him, I think actually looks a lot like him to begin with.
Got to play who? Tarkin. Yes.
Because
yes.
they show all the behind the scenes, and this actor actually went like that's his voice as
Yes.
Tarkin. That's him doing it. He sounds like him.
I know.
The way they how he did his mannerisms, and they even did a little makeup to make him look like him on set. Then they put the dots in the camera on him. But it's like they could have just done that. They could have had him do that. They could have done it as a hologram or something like that. Or same thing. They could have done something similar to Princess Leia. They could have hired a lady, and they could, if they wanted to, use Billie Lourd, although she was in it already. But they could have done it totally different. But they chose to make it as consistent as possible to prevent any people, fanboys going crazy. So I have faith that they'll have more faith that they'll do it right with Han Solo.
Yeah. I do.
Whether it's prosthetics, whether it's
But do you think if
makeup.
Tarkin was in a smaller role, they would have gone through that trouble still?
Yeah, I think so. I think it just made it easier probably, but
yeah.
I think definitely.
Actually, a smaller role would have been easier.
Yeah, it would have been
to
easier,
do it.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So
awesome.
Still, whether or not they'll do the CG or combination of that and prosthetics or prosthetics makeup, whatever. I think. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. It'll be fine, but I'm sure it'll be just fine. But other than that, episode 8 news, nothing. I mean, they've been wrapped on that for a while now.
Yeah,
and that's
it's probably celebration.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably celebration.
That's about it.
So those of you counting at home, Rogue One is up to 989 million.
Great.
875.
Yes. Still need to see it at least one more time.
So it'll get to $1 billion. I mean, it's
it'll definitely make 11 million by the time it's done.
I mean, that's not even. We're not even through the weekend yet. Obviously,
Yeah.
this weekend. So
Probably get there by next week.
is the weekend numbers. So this doesn't even include this weekend's numbers.
Well,
so
that's probably already there.
yeah, it's probably already there. Well, let's see. Daily, it did what last night. See, well, last night it only did 1.7 million.
Oh, okay.
On estimate. So, so depending on it may take a couple more weekends
Yeah.
if it does something. But
Well, on a Star Wars
I'm not
show,
sure if it has it opened in China yet.
I think it has.
right?
Pretty sure it has. It didn't do as well as they wanted it to, but
Yeah, it did. Yeah, actually, it
definitely
did. It's done 54 in China so far. 54 million.
Yeah,
so
they were
42.
hoping it was going to do a lot more.
It's done more. It's done more in this. Which is different. Usually, it's done more domestically than it has in foreign markets, and usually it's the other way around.
Right.
Usually, it gets most of its boost in the foreign markets, but it's over 500,000. I'm sorry, over 500 million in America.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you watch the Star Wars show, Matt Winter, is that his name?
Yeah,
the Story Group guys.
Matt, I can't. Is it Winter?
I
can't
literally
remember.
just looked at it and I instantly forgot. I can pull it back up, but he was on Star Wars show and he mentioned that he saw
9 times. or
9
something like that?
times.
Yeah.
He saw Rogue One 9 times.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's I don't wanna,
You
I
would
don't
think
say his
that they
name
would
wrong.
just have it like in the theater at the
Matt Martin. Sorry, Matt Martin.
Matt Martin. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking
Just
those
play
guys
it.
are probably it's just playing
Yeah,
in the background
don't they
there.
have it? Yeah.
Don't they have the
Like
movie?
they
They're
have
just
it.
there, or even like in a
Yeah.
Blu-ray form already for them to take home.
Yeah.
It's like, wouldn't they have that already? But I don't know.
That'd be cool.
Just to put this in perspective again, though. I mean, this is just amazing. So Rogue One, almost $1 billion, very successful. But just to remind everybody, just domestically, The Force Awakens almost did as much as. Domestically, Force Awakens did $936 million. That's only $50 million short of what Rogue One has done the entire world. And Rogue One did 1.13 billion in overseas. I mean, that is just $2 billion Force Awakens made. I mean, that is. Oh my gosh! I kind of forgot about how.
Yeah.
I mean, that is ridiculous.
No, they definitely made their money back and some more on that.
Oh my
on
gosh,
that,
yeah.
merger, the buyout.
Yeah, that's half of what they paid for Lucasfilm.
What was it, like 40 Well, how much did they pay for
$4 billion.
$4 billion, right?
4.4 billion, I think.
They paid George Lucas.
Yeah, 4.4 billion. And they made half of that just on this movie alone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like plus merchandise and
Oh, I'm sure they've made it.
oh yeah, they're like they're in the black now. It's, anyway, okay. So we might as well stay on the Rogue One talk because Star Wars show put out an incredible episode of the Star Wars put out an incredible episode of the Star Wars show.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a traditional Wednesday because they're all kind of on hiatus right now from the holidays. They put it out yesterday on Friday. And it was entitled Rogue One Secrets Explained. And it's a 24-minute.
Yeah, much longer.
Much longer. It's got 3 of the story group, arguably the 3 main guys on there. Pablo Hidalgo, Matt Martin, and Leland Chee. Good to see Leland Chee finally talking more.
Yeah.
I do have to say, and I hope they're not listening, which I know they're not. But did you notice, like, I felt like Leland was trying to talk a lot, but Pablo just kept cutting him off and talking more. But
I don't know. Pablo's getting.
But Pablo's got all he knows all this stuff, you know. But I felt like Leland was trying to talk more, and couldn't get it in.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love those guys. So anyway, basically, it points out nearly every Easter egg, the connections to Rebels, and then of course explains a lot of the questions that we were trying to fulfill on our own, namely with the Tantive 4.
Tantive, yes,
The
I'm
Tantive.
not wrong, people.
You are right.
Yeah. Which I didn't know the origin of it though, because he said it was from an old radio drama.
Yes.
So that's a cool. They kept that.
And of course Leia and all that stuff. So what? It wasn't really. There was some surprises, I guess.
There were some surprises. I mean, if you listen to our show, we said we guessed a lot of those answers, or we kind of deduced our way to some of those answers.
Yes.
And it's great to hear that was confirmed. And so there were some explanations that I just didn't even think about. That makes a lot of sense. I guess we'll just go into like one of them.
Yes.
You know, those people were talking about the line from Vader saying in A New Hope, several transmissions were born aboard the ship.
Beamed to the ship.
Tongue-tied, sorry. Beamed aboard this ship.
Ship.
And the explanation...
I want to know what happened to the plans they sent you.
And it was like, if you pay attention, when Jen is downloading the plans, or when she's beaming it from the satellite dish there, you see it's like got 3 or 4... I
think it's 5, actually.
5,
bars.
Little progress bars, like loading screen bars, and they're all going at different rates. And it's like, that's what it is. It's
several transmissions, yeah.
It's which is actually, that happens in our realm of transmitting data. It's like these little packages kind of...
Yes.
It's how it gets done faster. So those are the several transmissions, and that it's just beamed aboard that ship. And so that's why.
Yeah, you can get by him saying he's saying beamed to this ship.
Yeah, we think
it wasn't this ship. It was actually the Radish's ship.
Yeah,
Admiral Radish's cruiser.
Yeah, big
or warship.
Yeah,
and then they download it onto the disk.
Sure,
but that part they probably don't know. Because
sure,
that's because again, Vader's like when it gets downloaded, they probably obviously searched the warship's computers and noticed, okay, the plans aren't here. They must have left with them, but they don't know whether or not they beamed them to that ship or they gave them a disc.
Yeah, I mean, they probably
right,
and they can probably look at it because again, why did Vader go to that specific part of the ship to right where they were boarding the Tantive 4? Why didn't he go to like whatever technology room or like the command bridge?
I don't know.
But I'm thinking like maybe that they've tracked its signal through all the computers and saw that its last...
It's getting downloaded right there.
Its last use was to that terminal.
That's possible.
So it's like, we got to go to that specific terminal because that's where we're getting the readings from. So they, he just follows them.
And you remember before they find Leia, he's choking out Captain Antilles and he's saying, he's saying to them, the stormtroopers come in and say, we swept the God, what did he say? He says, we swept the computer. No transitions were. We can't find any transmissions or something like that. He's like,
where have you done
with those plans? Yeah.
What have you done?
So he thinks, at least what he's thinking is that they were. I mean, it's possible they were just beamed to that ship once they found out the warship couldn't get rid of. So they beamed it to this ship, and they took off. Right. So anyway, that makes sense.
And there's with that same sequence of events when they got Leia, and Leia's given that, this is a consular ship, I'm an ambassador, diplomatic mission.
I'm sorry, I just remembered. He says, the Stormtrooper says the Death Star plans are not in the main computer. Okay, that's what he says.
So it fits.
So what have you done with those plans? And later on, after they captured Leia, the officer comes up and says, no transmissions, no transmissions were made. But escape pod, he said they must have hidden his plans. And so then he's finally deducing that they must have downloaded them and threw them on the escape pod, not knowing that they're actually droids until the Stormtroopers, look, sir, droids. Because of this ring, there's droids on that thing.
No, you idiots, it's a ring. That's not a droid.
Isn't that part of the escape pod?
Yeah.
No.
That's it's just a ring.
Yeah.
But they went on further to, which we've kind of heard been explained now, where people said, like, why did Leia try to give the excuse to Vader, like, this is a consular ship, obviously he saw them fire, he fought them on the ship. And then they said, well, it's kind of like you getting pulled over and you give that bogus excuse, like, oh, I wasn't speeding.
Yes.
No, I just saw you speed. Well,
she's got to keep the front for the Senate.
And which I didn't know, which is cool. It's like, saying that this is a consular ship, and it was, to defeat its consular ship, that's like, like diplomatic immunity. So how they expect you can't
cannot
touch
fire on it.
But Vader's like, I don't care. I'm going to do it. So, but Pablo makes a great point. He's so good at this.
I know.
At just making these obvious
points. You can't stump him.
No,
you just cannot stump him.
And then he'll just say, "Oh, if he doesn't know, he's just like, I don't know. We'll maybe figure that out later."
Yeah, exactly.
But like, he's so good at like stating the obvious and making you feel like, oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't see this before. Of course. Where like he says, if you watch closely, at the very beginning of New Hope, Tantive is firing back at the Death Star. Those troopers are firing and killing stormtroopers. So why, if they're innocent, why would they fire back? Why would they attack? So right there, that tells you that
tells Vader.
Yeah, it tells Vader this is bogus. Like, okay, you're saying you're consular. You just attacked me walking on this ship.
Yes.
So that was a perfect thing. And I'm reading Pablo's tweets and his conversations, and he's doing this a lot. Where like there was a big conversation about gray Jedi. There's a term gray Jedi thrown out in the expanded universe, and people were saying like, so what is Ahsoka, or what are Jedi if they're not Jedi anymore? Are they still, what are they called? And Pablo's like, they're called whatever their names are. I don't know. It's like they're not Jedi, so just call them by their names. It's like, well, so what's Ahsoka called? She's called Ahsoka. Yeah, it's like she's not a Jedi.
Yeah,
and so that's funny. But anyways, one other thing that I thought was funny that I can think of right now from the Star Wars show is the war room on A New Hope when the generals and admirals are talking.
Yes. That was huge.
It was cool, and they're talking about, one of those seats was probably Krennic's.
Yeah.
But there's several seats out. But I think it's Mahdi, is talking about, what was that line? He says, maybe they're dangerous to your fleet commander, but not to this battle station or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
that's what Mahdi says.
Mahdi. And then they're saying like that is basically a reference to Scarif.
Correct.
Like that's
talking about, and the fact that Tag, who he's targeting with, is saying, what if they find, analyze a plan and find a weakness and exploit it? It's like, so they don't know if there's a weakness. They don't know if there's a weakness. Yeah, right.
That's what Krennic was trying to figure out.
Exactly.
If Galen had said
exactly. Something. But the whole Scarif they had is huge, man. I mean, literally that just happened, and it really, and that's. Remember I told you that Pablo tweeted that and said this scene is going to mean a lot more after Rogue One, and it does. You know, it's Vader and Tarkin walking on after all this has happened, and the plans are out there, and they don't think it's a big deal. And I loved how, I'm glad that they pointed out also clearly what we had talked about too, is that Galen didn't put the exhaust port in there. No. He just made the reactor unstable.
Yeah, they pointed out because in the book, it's mentioned in the novelization of Rogue One. It's mentioned that Galen, I think, signs off on some work order to put in exhaust ports, and like he signs off on it, but he doesn't know. Like he's not in charge of he's not an architect.
That's right.
He's in charge of the weapon and the core, the
weapon
main
only,
reactor, and how it reacts with the main reactor.
Exactly right.
So that's where he's focusing on. So people coming to him like, we might need this to exhaust, from the reactor, from the weapon. It's like, oh yeah, sure, okay, go ahead, do that. He doesn't think like, oh, this is going to be the perfect plan,
right?
To shoot down there,
and the fact that he doesn't tell Jin in the transmission how to do it, he doesn't know how to do it. He's just saying, you got to get the plans, to find a weakness and get to the reactor, and then it'll destroy it. So. So we kind of figured that out, I think, but it was good for them to hear that. So,
but they talked a lot about the Ghost crew, and they confirmed that the Phantom is out of there.
Phantom,
which we know it was destroyed, but they came up with a second Phantom, a Phantom 2. They
do right now in the show. They have a Phantom 2.
But that wasn't
either.
There. So that's gone. So who knows what that could mean?
Yeah,
we're gonna see that. We're gonna see that
get destroyed,
or we're gonna see just that perspective from the Ghost Crew and Rebels. I'm pretty sure.
I do too, and I'm glad you brought that up a little bit, because I think my theory is that, because they mentioned on the show too that you don't see them, you don't see the Ghost leave.
Yeah,
Scarif, right? Whenever they're all jumping, you don't see the Ghost leave. Yeah. But obviously, the Ghost is not in Episode 4, which is only a couple days later, right? If not a day later. So my theory is this. I'm going to throw it out there right now. My theory is this. I believe they're going to do Rebels, because Rebels is popular. I mean, it's getting better and better and better. In fact, I put our poll out there this past week, and it was saying what is or I said, up to this point, what has been your favorite season of Star Wars Rebels? And 58%, it was close, a little bit close, 58% said season 3, even though it's only halfway done, right? Zero votes for season 1.
Wow.
42% was season 2. So season 3 is by far the most popular. I think it's getting, season 2 was Vader.
Yes.
And now it's like Thrawn, and you're getting all these stories, and we'll talk about the episode today. But my theory is that Filoni, I feel like, is going to do what he wanted to do with Clone Wars, which was, if you don't know, and we've talked about it on the show, he wanted to overlap Clone Wars with Episode 3, and then go beyond it, right? Because he wanted to show, there were episodes of Ahsoka surviving Order 66, and where what was going to happen to her, and of course, there was going to be incredible, possibly there was going to be some Vader in Clone Wars, possibly hunting down some of the Last Jedi. I mean, that would have been incredible,
wild,
right?
Yeah.
But there was also those episodes of Bane and Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
So there was just they would have done that for a while, I think. Anyway, so my theory is that they are going to eventually overlap Rogue One, like you said.
Yes.
But I think, get this, I think they may even go beyond that, beyond Episode 4.
Yeah.
Because think about it, it's still Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
They're still Rebels between 4, 5, and 6, right? So they could expand this throughout, and just kind of these little things. Now, whether or not they'll be on Hoth and get to Empire Strikes Back, I don't think, or even to the Battle of Endor. I don't know if they'll go that far. But I think that we will see the perspective, like you said, the perspective of the Ghost during Scarif, and we'll find out what happens to that.
Yes,
to that ship, which I do think they make it out. And we talked about this off camera or off mic, is that I think that the reason they're not in Episode 4 is because when they finally do get the plans and they analyze the plans, General Dodonna clearly states that the Empire doesn't think a one-man fighter can mean any or whatever, can be effective against this Death Star. So, and they're the only ships I think that can actually pass through the magnetic field and get close enough. So the Ghost would be too big of a ship.
Yeah.
So that's why they're maybe not in that battle, right? There's only X-wings and Y-wings that go after this thing. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm going to throw out there right now. This is January 21st, 2017. Who knows where it's going to go? Where season 4 or even whatever 5, 6 of Rebels is going to go. But because I think I got to think that, and Casey, I don't know what you think, but I just have this funny feeling that when we go to Celebration and we're lucky enough to get in, because I feel like they're going to do the same thing. They're going to premiere season 4 at Celebration.
Oh, yeah.
I just have this suspicious feeling that season 4 is going to get us very close to Rogue One.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would agree.
I mean, it's going to lead up to Rogue One, I think. I mean, we're that close.
I mean, would you be surprised if we even saw a glimpse of Scarif, like the Battle of Scarif? Would you be that surprised?
No, I think we're going to get Scarif.
Yeah.
I think eventually we will see Hera jumping in the Ghost.
In this next
possibly
season,
by the
4?
end of season 4.
Yeah.
By the end of season 4, I think we could, because I just don't think they could stretch. I just don't think they would, because Rogue One came out. I don't see them stretching another season leading up to Rogue One. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure there's plenty of stories to tell, and they'll
because they're literally, they got to be less than. I mean, Saul's in it, right? They got to be a couple of years still. But we'll get more. I think we'll get a little bit more with Saul.
Yeah.
And see that Mon Mothma, obviously, Mon Mothma, we've already seen her in the trailer. She's coming in this season. More Bail and stuff like that. Anyway, so I won't belabor it, but I think so. They pointed out. What else did they talk about in that show? There's this little creatures and stuff like that.
Yeah,
things that they from harping back to the
really obscure references.
Really, only they know about those.
And one thing that I saw, Cody Geiler, who's actually been on the show before, let me get him on here again. Mm-hmm. He bought the art of Rogue One, the basically book, all the concept art and storyboards. I looked through it the other day, and it has all these creatures and stuff like that. And this is, I'm sure a lot of people probably won't know this by now, but there was a Twi'lek in Saw's kind of cave, part of his group, and he is been confirmed to be Bib Fortuna's cousin.
Oh, yes, the guy that's in Saul's group, right? Yes. I saw that somewhere else. I thought I read that somewhere else.
It's probably, I think it was.
Oh, it's in.
Is it in the visual dictionary?
Yes, his character is in there.
Oh,
and it says he's the cousin of Bib Fortuna. That's so right. Cool. I did read that.
I thought that was a funny little thing because in that same area, that little cave hut layer, some guys are playing the Jark.
Yes.
And they
yell something.
Yeah, they yell something that is
the name of one of the creatures, I think.
It's a very obscure reference that is, and apparently Pow, the alien Pow, yells Carabas.
Yes, he does.
I
caught that in.
You did?
Yeah, I caught that in Rogue One. He yells Carabas.
That's awesome.
Yes, he does yell that. Going back to that round table of the Imperials, there's that one character that is in Rogue One.
Yeah. That the back of his head most of the
time. They see the back of his head in A New Hope.
Yeah.
It's I hate to say it, bald gentleman. But they casted that, and that's the guy that goes and talks to Tarkin at the end, saying Scarif's under attack, kind of thing, and that's the same. Apparently, that's the same character.
That's awesome.
They got to play that. Didn't they mention somebody that they brought back?
Though the actor who played
that played Gold One,
Gold Leader,
yes,
because he's still around.
He's still
thankfully,
alive,
and he voiced a new line. Because I remember watching the movie, and when he said we're approaching the Shield Gate, whatever, I'm like,
where'd they get that line?
Yeah, did he say Shield Gate in A New Hope, and they just didn't use it? But no, because he came back and said that one, probably more than that. Maybe they just didn't use it, but said that line, and they used it.
The same character. That is the same actor. That's great. That is fantastic. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so stuff like that. I mean, and then of course they talk about the Hammerhead.
Yeah.
That they actually mentioned, if you noticed, they actually jump in escape pods.
Yeah, you'll see the escape pods are gone.
Are gone. When it starts, yes. So who knows where they are?
Yeah. There's 2 more out there somewhere too.
Yeah.
Because Leia got 3 of them.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and they're saying too, like, why is Leia there in the first place? You know,
Huge.
She's with Radis first of all, but also she is a big part of the rebellion. Is what they wanted. They also confirmed, like, she wouldn't shy away.
And she's been at Yavin this whole time.
Yes, yeah, and she wouldn't shy away from battle. I don't think, because she's just as big a part as Bail as.
Well, you remember what he said? What we had thought.
Yeah,
was that
absolutely
Radis was going to Tatooine, taking her to Tatooine.
Yeah.
So as they were, going to go there, this happens, and they're basically like, you know what? Well, actually,
hold on. Yeah,
have they even? Yeah, because
they biggest ships. That's like one of their main warships.
Yeah, because they had left, right? No,
they left. Well, see, it was like it wasn't that long of a time, but because Mon Mothma told Bail to go get Obi-Wan, and so he said that. But then again, it goes back to the C-3PO thing.
Correct.
Like that. There's not that much time, but they were splitting off, and then they got rerouted back.
Yes. Yeah, because that is the only timeline issue, is that there's 3PO. But because I liked our theory was that they were
on the way and they got stopped. Because Scarif and Tatooine are right next to each other, pretty close to each other.
Very close.
On the map.
Yes, very close. So I got to think they were gearing up, getting ready to go to Tatooine, and then all of a sudden this happened, and they went there. So
yeah.
Anyway, okay, so very good stuff. Go check out that. So let's talk about Rebels. Okay. This episode, I just called the something of the Darksaber. What was it called?
Trials
of the Darksaber. Yeah, you're right. Trials of the Darksaber. So I just tweeted it out tonight. I can't think of a better episode than this was. I was completely drawn in. This whole thing was kind of, it ended up being a big reveal of what had happened to Sabine's character prior to meeting the Ghost Crew. And it's a lot deeper than I thought it was going to, that you would think.
We're going to get a book.
I got to think so too. You're right. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much history with the Mandalorians that that's a whole series in itself.
They expanded it exponentially by just saying that there's one of the oldest Jedi, one of the original Jedi, or just
1,000 years ago.
Yeah,
one of the Mandalorians was a Jedi. Yeah, with the Darksaber.
Yeah, not an original, but a very old Jedi.
Yes,
the first Mandalorian. So that's crazy.
So
made the Darksaber.
Yeah, he made the Darksaber.
Yeah,
and then eventually the Jedi kept it in the temple.
Yeah, and the Vizsla clan.
And then the Vizsla came and they took it.
Yeah.
And then controlled Mandalore with it.
And then it became Death Watch.
Yeah. So, right away, again, you can go back and watch Clone Wars and be like, whoa. So I know the history of this saber now with pre-Vizsla.
Yeah, why their Death Watch is so powerful.
Yes.
Because of that.
Yeah. Oh, man. This is so incredible.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, again, if you watch Recon, Rebels Recon right after it, that Pablo was talking about how they came up with the history of the Darksaber in this episode. It wasn't during Clone Wars that they have the history of it. This is when they were able to make a history of it.
Cool.
So they were able to do it without conflicting with anything, So
very good.
I don't know what you thought.
Oh, it was emotional. It was like I didn't expect this episode to be like this. It was all training. Like there's no villain, there's no conflict.
Right.
It was just it was conflict, but not like a villain real necessarily. No Imperials. So it was all Sabine being trained, and it was a huge character moment for her, a huge arc moment. And when she's just fighting Kanan and talking about her backstory, like you said, like I was getting choked up. Listen, because like just hearing it, her emotion, her performance, and Kanan's and Freddie Prinze Jr.'s performance, and then like seeing like Fen Rao kind of like understand now, like I didn't even know this about you, and like he's now fully involved with the rebellion. Now he's kind of fighting with them. He's says like you can lead me anywhere. Like I will follow you anywhere you go. Like to Mandalore, to unite the planet, unite the people. So. It was pretty incredible episode. And I cannot wait. I can't wait to see more of that story
I know.
unfold. You know, I want to see them go to Mandalore with the Darksaber, which we're going to get that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see some of that at least, and I can't wait to I want to see the backstory. I want to see the story that unfolds from this, and the show was quite surprisingly phenomenal.
Yeah, and my two main big comments are one, how yes, what I think her name's Tia, right? Tia that voices Sabine. Phenomenal job for one. She was fantastic, but I got to say, Kanan was equally fantastic in this. This was a great moment for him, I felt too, being able to try to train somebody that's not attuned to the Force, necessarily. Yeah. And again, we got pointed out that the Force is with everybody.
Kanan makes that point.
Yeah, it's not that she's not forceless in a sense.
Yeah.
The Force does flow through her. She just can't connect with it, right?
Exactly.
Or use it.
Yeah, and it's a thing that definitely needs to be explored more. And this goes back to even A New Hope. Like, when you first saw A New Hope for the first time, you're thinking like, oh, so anybody can probably learn to use the Force, because Luke can just kind of train it, so anybody can use. But yeah, Obi-Wan says that the Force, surrounds everything. It's in everything. Mos Kanata says that it surrounds every living thing. And so because Hera tells Kanan so you think she can't do it because she can't use the Force, and Kanan's like, no. He's like, no. The Force is in everyone. He said she just can't connect with it. She's not listening to it, calling to it. But
and like it or not, that we got explained in episode 1 how people connect to the Force.
Absolutely. And the amount of midichlorians.
Yes,
there is a science to it.
There is a science to it
because that does help me explain it. Why not everybody can just go out there and use the Force?
That is exactly right. Now the Force part of it is the mystical part.
Sure.
There's an energy field or energy that's out there.
Yeah.
But the midichlorians are the ones that are able to connect every living thing to it.
In a Force
sense.
user, sort of Force sensitive. Because
yes.
you go to it like Chirrut. He can't use the Force, but I'm pretty sure he's Force sensitive enough to where he can sense things, presence, and that kind of stuff.
He's blind, so he's able to somehow get through.
Even Lyra.
Yes.
If you read Catalyst,
yes,
she's very attuned to the Force.
She is.
And her friend that she talks to.
In her first versions of it, she was Force. She was a former Jedi.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So there is a discrepancy. There's a spectrum of using the Force, not using the Force, or feeling the Force, connecting to it, that kind of thing. So I would like more explanation about that, and just more stories about explaining exactly what it means to be connected to the Force. Talk about midichlorians. Don't be afraid to say that word because it's there and it's a part of it. You can't ignore it. But I love the spirituality of it. I still love all that magical, aura about it. So, but it's incredible episode, incredible, just storytelling.
Yeah, and the only other thing too I was going to say was that whole thing with, like you said, with her Sabine fighting at the end. Thankfully, again, you got to think about it. Thankfully, she's not attuned to the Force because that's teetering on the dark side.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's straight up dark side.
She's
stuff.
very angry.
Yeah, I mean that is afraid, hateful.
Yeah,
it's just that
fear, anger, hate.
Yeah, she would have tipped in a point to a certain point. So that's again, it's part of that's just the greatness of it is you have those emotions, and if she was truly like Ezra in a sense. She would have killed him.
And that's what makes it so interesting that a Mandalorian was a Jedi, because Mandalorians are an angry people. I mean, whether they're good or bad.
Very true. I think, the Death Watch side of them.
They're pretty much hatred and anger and fear. But Mandalorian, it's a soldier-based mindset.
Well, yeah,
it's
true.
A very aggressive sort of mindset, whether you're doing it for good or for evil.
Yeah.
Death Watch or, not or Vizsla Land before Death Watch. They're not very peaceful,
right?
They're not guardians, keepers of the peace like the Jedi are. So I want to see a story of that guy, of that Mandalorian Jedi.
Yes. Oh man, yes. I feel like that's a novel or something or a book. Yeah. Speaking of real quick comics, before you get into, I know we got some book news with Thrawn. Real quick, Marvel's actually releasing a Rogue One adaptation adaptation, adaptation, whatever, to a comic, obviously a graphic novel to Rogue One, similar to what they did with The Force Awakens. Now, this, though, has been mentioned that it will include cutscenes that were not in the film.
And that makes it canon.
It does make it canon. And they talked about that there were a number of ideas. Gareth Edwards mentions there were a number of ideas and moments that didn't fit in the film that the writer is working with. There are also some amazing moments in the novelization that they want to incorporate. So I want to listen to the novelization of Rogue One. But they mention a couple of them is that immediately after Imperial Director Krennic captures Galen during the prologue, the two men exchange words aboard Krennic's shuttle with the corpse of Lyra Urso between them.
Man.
And then another one is the destruction of Jeddah cities depicted from the point of view of various characters on the ground.
I've heard of that in the book, novelization.
Including a stormtrooper detail that didn't evacuate, as well as the family of the little girl Jyn rescued from the marketplace.
Yeah, I remember hearing that in the book, and it made me think, too, like, I remember them saying on the Death Star, like, their garrisons have been evacuated, whatever.
Yeah, everybody's been... He says that.
No.
There were stormtroopers still down here. Poor guys.
Jeez.
221 and 212.
Oh, yep, that's what it was. About to make it canon now.
Yeah.
That'd be a funny story.
That would be a funny story. Yeah. They just get out of Jeddah City. What? We got to get out of here. Yeah. All right. So that's the comic news. I think you got some book news on Thrawn.
Yeah. I mean, if you you can Google it from Penguin Random House. They released the synopsis of the Thrawn novel. And I guess it's not as I would expect it to be, but I'm sure it's still good. It sounds very, I don't know, political is the word, but espionage-ish in a way. Like, it is an origin of Thrawn.
Yes.
It talks about how he was discovered by the Imperials and the work that he did with the Imperials, fighting pirates, smugglers, spies, rebels, I guess, also, and then his ascension to power, all the steps he takes, and his first encounters with Governor Price that we see in Rebels. And it even sounds like they might have a little bit of conflict in the book between Price and Thrawn, kind of the politics between the two, and Thrawn trying to step up the ladder to meet Price and actually go beyond Price, because... And then it talks about this last paragraph here in the synopsis. All of Thrawn's lessons will be put to the ultimate test when he rises to admiral and must pit all the knowledge, instincts, and battle forces at his command against an insurgent uprising that threatens not only innocent lives, but also the Empire's grip on the galaxy and his own carefully laid plans for future ascendancy. So there is some battle, there is some action in it, of course. It's Star Wars, but I'm expecting this to be a very political story as well.
Yeah,
Thrawn being very Palpatine-ish and like working through, strategizing, working through the ranks.
If it's anything like Tarkin, it's going to be awesome. Now, Tarkin obviously was James Luceno. Yeah, this is actually Timothy Zahn.
Yes,
who knows the character left and right. So I just can't wait for that book. That's going to be April when the release is.
Very right before Celebration, I think.
Pretty much right before
that week.
Yeah, actually, that the Tuesday before. I think you're right. Yeah. So we'll
probably get some free copies there. Maybe unless I'll buy it before.
I'm probably gonna buy the audiobook on the way down. Listen to it on the way down because it's gonna be a long drive.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I'll just mention real quick. I want to talk about the whole thing because we'll be here for hours. But I sent it. Like I said, I sent that tweet out to Pablo after I watched Return of the Jedi again about Leia. Mm-hmm. How, right before the main battle of Endor, or rather on the Ewok village, is her and Luke, the reveal that she's Luke's sister. She mentions Luke asks her, right? Mm-hmm. Do you remember your real mother? And we've talked about it till we were blue in the face about it. But watching it again, I was thinking like, okay. Pablo's answering a bunch of questions. I'm going to see if he does. So I threw a tweet out and I said, Pablo, by Return of the Jedi, does Leia know she's adopted? Is she referring to Padme when speaking to Luke? So I shouldn't have. I thought about it, and I should have maybe mentioned Padme. I should have mentioned because I don't think I don't want to get too deep into this. I'd rather hear people's comments. I don't think that she's told. She could be told that Padme was her mother.
Mm-hmm. I don't think so.
Because I'm listening. I'm in the middle of Heir to the Jedi, and Luke doesn't know who his mother is. Luke, there was a question about his mother, and all he says is that she died when I was an infant. So he doesn't know. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know who his mother was. But anyway, there's a big debate on whether or not she was referring to Padme or was she referring to Bael's wife. I threw out the theory I told you that, what would make sense the most actually is that Luke doesn't know she's adopted, but knows that her adopted mother had passed, and Bael may be remarried, and he's just referring to your real mother, which could possibly be obviously his mother.
To him.
Maybe.
Yeah,
yeah.
To his point of view.
He doesn't know because they had to have the same. They're twins, so they had to have the same mother. So it's like if she can remember her, maybe he can put some things together. But anyway, the bottom line is people basically were saying that she remembered that scene in episode 3, Leia, because apparently her eyes were open. I didn't know that.
That's been a long thing that I've always heard of. It's always been rumored. I don't think it's been confirmed. I don't know. George Lucas might. I don't know. But,
it hasn't.
Yeah. So if you watch closely, and at the end of Revenge of the Sith, when Leia's born, her eyes peek open just a little bit, and she looks at Padme.
But that means a lot. That means a lot.
And Luke doesn't at all. Luke keeps his eyes shut.
And maybe that's why
Lucas
did that. I guess.
Yeah. So that explains why Leia says like, "Oh, I only have visions or whatever." Like
images really feelings.
Yeah.
So that's right because she has that, and someone pointed out in a comic. During the it wasn't. I don't think it was the Leia comic because I don't remember that scene.
I think it was the Sith comic, maybe.
No, it was current comics. It was. I think it was in Star Wars. There was a scene where she goes to Naboo.
That might be the Dark Horse comic. Was it the Dark Horse comic?
I don't think was it.
I see. I'm getting mixed up myself. I don't know. Where she goes to Naboo and she senses something, she sees
the hangar.
Yeah. Well, she sees a hangar and senses Maul's presence. But I think she sees a picture or hologram of Queen Amidala, Padme. And I think she has
and doesn't know who she is, right?
She doesn't know who she is. But I don't know.
That's not in that comic?
I don't. It might be Dark Horse. I don't know. I have to look at it.
I have to look at it too.
Yeah.
I could have swore maybe it would have. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. I don't know if it was. But anyway, Pablo graciously enough responded and said, just briefly said, it was never kept secret from her that she was adopted. But that doesn't say when she was told or if she was told. It's pretty vague.
Yeah, I'm sure Bael had told her, "Yeah, you're adopted," but never told her who the mother was. Because that would be too much attention to
like that. Is that what? Do you know what comic that was?
I think that's the
Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
Okay,
because she goes there.
Well, it's not canon then.
I have to look at it again. I don't know because that's the storyline of she's trying to find a new base with that. Oh, that's her. She has like another pilot, female with her. Is that which one?
That's in.
Is that the current?
That's
one?
in Leia's.
That's the Leia spinoff.
That's the Leia spinoff.
So then it is canon.
Yeah, I got it over there. I'll look it up I'll look it up or something like that.
Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah. So anyway, so there's a whole. If you want to go to my Twitter, it's dcottingham21. There's a whole long thread. It's in that stack right there, Case, underneath the Vader pop. It's in. There's just a long thread from some of these people, thankfully, that were responding to my question. I mean, just having a big debate on how force sensitivity is different from Leia and Luke, because some were saying, well, why wouldn't Luke remember? He's more sensitive, and that's not true because there's different abilities, right? Someone mentioned on here even Sifo-Dyas. Sifo-Dyas had precognition ability. He didn't have just insight. He had precognition ability. There's Padme right there.
This is it.
Yeah, so it's canon.
All right, so
is it?
I just want to kind of
find that
summarize
image.
This. So they're walking through Naboo.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And they see Queen Amidala. Padme asks Queen Amidala. It's a hologram. Padme says, "Don't you see that?" And the lady she's with, the pilot, rebel pilot, says, "See what, ma'am?" And Leia says, "That woman, she's nothing, an illusion." For a moment, I thought, "Never mind." And then
So she doesn't know. See, she doesn't know.
Yeah, she doesn't know it's her mom.
So that is after episode 4.
Correct.
So she doesn't. So
Trying to find the
so by
hang-up.
by Return of the Jedi, she would not know because I mean Alderaan's gone. No one would tell her. Who would tell her? Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So she doesn't know.
I think I passed the mall part, but
Does she know she's adopted though? I mean, does she even know she's adopted?
I think she knows that she's adopted. I think
Yeah.
that's almost the connection she was trying to make there. Like, she's like, is she
Possibly.
she's getting some connection in the Force that she
Yeah,
telling
I'll look
telling
it
her that that's her mom, but she's not listening to the Force. I don't think I think the Force is telling her right there, but she's not listening to it. So that's cool. I'm glad we talked about that because I thought that was in the Dark Horse comic. It's been a while since I read that, and now it's canon.
Actually, though, I think that is the Dark Horse.
The Darth Maul part. I think.
Yeah,
is Dark
because
Horse.
in that she looks like Carrie Fisher.
Yes.
This doesn't really the art
Yeah.
is different.
Yeah,
so I think
so-
you're right.
So the Maul part was half right, I guess.
But this is canon, so
Yes,
that means the
the
Padme part.
the Padme part
So
is
that means
canon.
that answer she does not know that she's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Anyway,
Very cool.
anyway, good conversation. You can go to my Twitter and see the big long thread about that question and what people think. So anyway, all right, we'll wrap this up with some Casey Cannon stuff.
Casey Cannon.
Ooh, that's some good.
That's a good show.
right
It's a
there.
show. So today from the DK book apps. So I always start off reading yours for some reason. DK book Ultimate Star Wars. We are talking about technology today, and today we're specifically talking about Darth Maul's double-bladed lightsaber. Appearances: Episode 1 and the Clone Wars. Creator Darth Maul. Model handcrafted type double-bladed Sith lightsaber. Parentheses 2 joint lightsabers. So pretty cool profile here, and I actually just mentioned some of the highlights just reading those little bylines. But Maul has, of course, has the double-bladed lightsaber, identical red single sabers that he grafted together, and he created this. He handcrafted this saber himself and made it to where you can either turn them on individually or turn them on simultaneously, and he used both of those in Episode 1. And it's cool because there's a reason, it says here that double-bladed lightsabers were actually traditionally used for training, that they weren't really used on the field. But Maul, just being the crazy, animal that he is, and how fast and acrobatic he is, athletic he is, he uses the double-bladed lightsaber just to be more threatening. And we've seen it, Jedi use that too in the Clone Wars and stuff like that. So it is used outside of Maul, but it's pretty cool. And so he created it. And it was also interesting if you watch the Clone Wars, which I actually forgot this. When Maul comes back, he actually uses his lightsaber, his old lightsaber from Episode 1 in the Clone Wars. So when Obi-Wan breaks it, Maul's using the one half of it, the single part of it. And when it gets cut in half and falls down the shaft, and we see him again in Clone Wars, he still has his same single lightsaber that he fought Obi-Wan with. And that's the one he uses throughout all of Clone Wars. And fights Obi-Wan again at the end of Clone Wars. So, I mean, I forgot that was a cool little point, and it's awesome that he kept the same one. And I'm pretty sure, though, I don't think he has that. I think I was looking for it in Rebels. I don't think he has that same lightsaber. I think it's a different red one, perhaps. It doesn't say here that it was, but they don't have anything really from Rebels in this. I don't believe so. Pretty cool. Darth Maul's lightsaber, and talks about how it goes a little bit backstory of Darth Maul, but we'll get to the Darth Maul canon stuff probably later. But how he spent years studying martial arts, training with this lightsaber, and how he finally gets to use it on Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. So there it is, Darth Maul's double-bladed lightsaber.
Yes, and then I will say in the absolutely everything you need to know, I'll stick to Maul as well, and just mention that there's a little Q&A here. It says, how does Maul survive being cut in half?
Well, science here.
And the answer to that is the power of anger. Maul draws on his master's dark side lessons to harness his rage and stay alive after Obi-Wan mains him in a duel on Naboo. Rumor has it that his top half fell down a reactor shaft into a trash compactor, which was then shipped to Lothal Minor.
Lothal Minor?
Lotho.
Lotho.
Lotho. Lotho Minor.
So that's the rumor?
It says rumor has
That's
it
funny.
that his top half fell down a reactor shaft into a trash container, which was then shipped.
That makes sense too. At work, I mentioned to some of the guys that Maul survived, and they're like, "Well, how that happened?" And I was trying to explain it to them, but it actually makes sense because the whole thing with the Sith is that they don't want to die. They don't believe in the afterlife. They don't think it exists for anybody, I guess. So they try to hold on to life as much as possible. And that makes sense that Maul would do that. And also that but it coincides with, it's not canon, but the Knights of the Old Republic 2, KOTOR 2 video game. One of the villains, Darth Sion, in that did the exact same thing. He did it so much to where he was almost like the undead, where his whole body was held together. He was holding it together through the Force, and if he just would stop concentrating, he would just die because he's been hurt so many times. He's been using the Force to keep himself alive through anger through the Force. So that's interesting. But also, I think you can say the science part of it, when he gets chopped in half, it cauterizes the wound, so that's why his entrails don't fall out.
That's right. It does cauterize.
So that and the Force is why he survives, which is crazy.
Yes. I was trying to find that really quick. I can't find it. You remember how one of these facts I was reading before, how you remember it talked about the Emperor cloning?
Yes. The engineer?
The
who
engineer.
made the flaw?
So we're not talking... Yeah. So, here it is. Yeah. So back on the Death Star thing, Emperor Palpatine executes the designer responsible for the first Death Star's weak spot and then clones him and makes him design Death Star 2 without the fault. So it's not Galen.
It's not Galen.
It's not, because we talked about whether or not it's that Galen that did. No. So whoever the architect is.
So I think it's probably that novelization. There's that scene in the novelization where this guy, I think it's this guy that brings like this work order kind of thing that Galen sign off on the thermal exhaust ports.
Man, I gotta.
And he signs off on it. I was like, okay, so maybe it's that guy.
Yeah, that probably is that guy. Poor guy.
Yeah,
but he gets cloned.
Yeah.
All right, we appreciate you guys listening. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will be back next week. Unfortunately, Star Wars Rebels is going on hiatus till mid-February. I think February 18th they return with their all-new episode. But up until then, we'll keep you updated with all the latest news. We'll talk about something, I'm sure. So be back here next week. We'll expand on more and more Star Wars. So we appreciate it. Go to InsideTheForce.com. Subscribe to the podcast there, or listen straight there on the website. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Inside the Force, Facebook at Inside the Force, Instagram at Inside the Force, and Casey over there is at Kryptonian1138. I am D Cottingham21. Check us out there. For Casey Cooley.
Gosh, look, I had to get into this. My mouth's a little dry. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the Dark Times, before the Empire. Not my best, Obi-Wan. It's late, and my voice is very dry. I could have done better than that, but...
That's okay.
That's it. It's okay. It's like there's always a line I have to say. I feel like to get an Obi-Wan. It's like, "May the Force be with you." Always, but again, I can't. I need to drink something, but it's, "May the Force be with you." I don't know.
It's getting there. That's there.
It's late. I can
do it better.
Late. I can do it better.
Good night. Thanks for listening, everybody. He's Casey.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave Cottingham. May the Force be with you.
This has been a production of the 21 Network. For more great podcasts, visit 21network.com. To view additional content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/21network. Follow us on Twitter at 21network for the latest news and updates. The 21 Network, for the fan and all of us.